All right, I'll bite. I will judge and grade the Trevor Lawrence big chop here on a bonus edition of Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is your team every day. Thank you for joining us here on the bonus edition of Locked On Jaguars. I'm Tony Wiggins, and here's what today's show is about. Second half, we're going to grade the cut. First half, I'm going to tell you about the cut and Trevor's big chop. All right, everybody's hit me up. All right, little backdrop. For y'all that don't know, I was a barber for over 3 decades. Officially 31 years, unofficially 35 years. Okay, I was cutting hair when I was in the military, making more money in the military cutting hair in the barracks in North Dakota and Germany than I actually was on my military paycheck. I actually started cutting my own hair in high school after being a terrorist of a client to my homegirl Roz over there off 103rd Street in the barber shop. But she taught me how to cut my hair by cutting my hair the way I wanted it. So I know about picky clients. This is my ode to trying to tell y'all that I usually don't judge other barbers, especially ones that I respect. Jeff Silva is a great barber in Jacksonville. Jeff Silva, I've never met him, but we've exchanged pleasantries for 5-6 years. Like most barbers, when I was still active, I kind of would compliment their work here and there and do some other stuff. And then I know people that know him. I taught some barbers right before COVID. I was an actual master barber instructor at a school here in Jacksonville. And a lot of my clients, a lot of my students actually are now blazing it, man. They're cutting hair. They're booked up all day. I did a video where one of them was cutting my hair. She wasn't an actual student of mine, but she was someone who worked beside me the last 2 years that I cut hair, and I kind of taught her a little bit of stuff. But first of all, shout out to all the barbers in Jacksonville. I love you. I don't criticize people's work. I will tell you that we're going to assume this is real. We know it's not AI, but some people are saying Trevor has his hair braided up and there's a wig on top. Whether it is or not, I do not know. So the first part of this is folks sitting there thinking that, this is his strength. I've been hearing some of the dumbest stuff forever about haircuts. I had somebody tell my son to not go into the military. I had him tell my son not to go in the military because his strength was his hair. At the time, my son Dion had dreadlocks. And there were people that didn't want him to go in the military. Say, man, you're going to cut your hair off. So he went in the military, served, got out. He grew them back. He got his dreadlocks back again. So the thing is it true that if you cut your hair, you cut your power? I'm not going to get all biblical on y'all. That's not my place here. What I tell you is hair grows back. One thing about me as a barber who also does sports, and maybe it'll give you a little bit of an idea why I'm the way I am. And is one, you never know what you're starting with. You never know what you're ending up with. And hair can be a very, very tricky thing. I'm not cop and please for anybody, but there are a lot of people sitting here saying, Shop Talking Wig, you should have done this. I don't know what I could have done because I have to be there with gloves on and I have to test the hair and I have to grab the hair. And I also have to, get down into the scalp to see where there's weaknesses and where there's strength. So there's the hair that you see, but the part of the hair that you don't see is underneath the directions, the potential damage from years and years or maybe chemical treatments, how the hair lays, whether it's thin, whether it's thick, does it have any weak spots, especially for someone who has been putting a helmet on their head over and over again since they were a kid, sweating. It creates an entirely different situation. I mentioned those dreadlocks. When you cut a person's hair off with dreadlocks, they have parts. Those parts that you see, they don't go away. You have to wash them and shampoo them out. And even then, you'll still see them. And I always tell you this right as we get to the second half and I start actually grading this cut. When you go from extremely long to extremely short, normally the second haircut is the real one because the first one is just going to get it down to where you want it to be. And then the next one is where you start treating it. you start doing things, because now it's going to lay down different. This hair is not going to be exposed. The scalp is going to be exposed to more sunlight and all of this. I will tell you this, if Trevor did get his hair cut yesterday, as we all think he did, when he went outside, he probably felt 20 pounds lighter. Like Ice Cube said, he felt so light, and that wind was blowing through his head. He probably thought he was in Aruba. All right, so I'll grade the cut, and I'll tell you exactly what I thought and what I think about how this went. We'll do it in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. All right, today's show sponsored and brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are here, and every possession matters. If you're looking to get even closer to the action, FanDuel has a great offer to get you started. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. That's right. Turn $5 into $150 in bonus bets just for getting started. I like using FanDuel during the playoffs because everything I need is right there in one place, including the matchups, because these are series and you see these teams, the ebb and flow in the matchups, and then you see the adjustments, and it should give you an easier way for you to adjust your thinking when it comes to trying to get paid. All right. Make sure you use the website for all the information to get the current lines and odds and the injury report so you can make an informed decision. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel, play your game. And today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Rocket Money. If you've ever opened your bank account and thought, where did all my money go? Well, you're not alone, man, because keeping track of subscriptions, spending, and bills can get overwhelming, and it can get overwhelming really, really fast. And that's where Rocket Money comes in, helping you take control of your finances all in one place. It tracks all your subscriptions in one spot and can help you cancel the ones you don't need with just a few taps. That's what I did, man. I was bundled up with one subscription, but with using different emails. So they had no idea it was the same person, or maybe they didn't. And then my wife also had that same subscription. Guess what we did? Rocket Money helped us find it. We got rid of 2 of them, and now we're saving money that goes into our savings. It just makes everything feel more organized and gives you a clearer picture of your finances day to day. It is a personal finance app, is Rocket Money, and it cancels unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow those savings. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/locked-on. That's rocketmoney.com/locked-on. All right, today's show sponsored and brought to you by Kalshi. The 2026 NFL season release is here, and now you can trade every game on Kalshi. Schedule release always sparks debates. Who's overrated, who got a brutal stretch, and which teams are actually playoff contenders. Kalshi lets you trade on those predictions in a live market, from total wins to playoff chances and championship futures. On Kalshi, you can trade on real NFL questions like whether a team makes the playoffs or reaches a certain win total. As the season outlook changes, you can buy in or out of your position live, and it's available in all 50 states, so it's easy to jump in and follow along with the season. For example, if you think their schedule is set up perfectly for a playoff run, you can actually trade on that prediction before the season even starts. On Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house, and as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position, trade the draft pick, the game, and more on Kalshi. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use the code LOCKEDON to get $10 when you trade 10. That's KALSHI, Kalshi. Trade on anything. The Everydayers Club is alive and kicking, man. Make sure you look down in the description of this podcast, wherever you watch or listen, and hit that link to the Everydayers Club so you can get access to our Locked On branded merchandise that you can only get. And man, I'm telling you, it is dope, man. It is some great stuff. You can only get it by being a member of the Everydayers Club and hitting that link and subscribing for as little as $5 a month. You also get ad-free shows that go out to our audio partners. Make sure you get involved with the Everydayers Club, even a little discourse, man. Y'all can talk about stuff like this haircut Trevor Lawrence just got yesterday. All right, I'm going to grade the cut. As far as technique, me and Jeff Silva have 2 different techniques when it comes to cutting long hair. Jeff Silva's a bad boy with them clippers, man. Let me tell you something. That dude, like I said, I've never met Jeff, but we've exchanged pleasantries in the barber community. Everybody doesn't know everybody in Jacksonville, but we kind of acknowledge each other. And So technique is always different. You can stand in a barbershop and see 10 fire barbers and they all cut differently and they all do it. All right, what normally would happen in a case with me like Trevor Lawrence, it would be a wet cut, right? So I may do the initial chop and just come through and debulk that whole thing with a big pair of 8-inch shears. I got a pair of shears I paid $800 for. I just come through and debulk it. Boom, 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 knock it all down. Then it goes under the shampoo bowl. Once it comes from under the shampoo bowl, it'll probably still be 2 inches longer than I want it to be. That's when I would section it off, right? You section it off by putting parts in based on his hair pattern, where his parts are, where the hair is leaning, and you do it like that. Then in each section, I would go ahead and use the shears to chop it down to the desired length, with the exception of what's going on at the bottom, because I'll probably use clipper over comb to clean that up before I edge it, right? The top is the most important part, because if you chop it up, you got to chop everything up. So you have to pay attention to the direction where the hair is going and the length. And that length has to stay, because that length has to fall into the side that you're blending it up to. I hope y'all understand. Y'all want it play-by-play. I'm giving you play-by-play, and I hope you get it, all right? What Trevor ended up having is sort of a pixie cut. And I know you think of pixie cut, you're thinking like female cuts. We don't look male or female. We look at type of haircuts, the head that is going to be on, and what we're trying to project once it's done, right? So it's almost like a pixie cut with a little bit of texture. And I like the way Silva did the front. And the reason why I like it so much is because Trevor's elongated. Trevor has a very long, from his shoulders up to the top of his crown, the crown of his head. It's long. Therefore, you want to shorten it out. That's why you don't shorten the sides more, and you leave more room for those sideburns, and you leave it fuller on the side. Then the direction that where it goes in the front, there was a little bit of texture. No straight line bangs, no Pee Wee Herman. My man did what he was supposed to do, texture that. I guarantee you, Trevor can take a comb and wet it, or spritz his hair or wet his hair, and he can change the direction, and it gives it a totally different look. Straight back, spiked up with a little gel on the top. He probably has a lot of versatility to wear a haircut. I'm real interested to see what the second one looks like, because the second one, like I said, whether you're cutting long hair on someone who doesn't have dreadlocks, whether you're cutting dreadlocks off, whether you're cutting an afro down, the second haircut always tells the story. The first one is kind of to get the hair used to being short and training it to lay down the way you want it to lay down. There you go. You got my full critique, man. But just like when teams pick draft picks, you can't tell from the outside what should have happened if you don't have intimate knowledge of the team's knowledge of its own team. You can't do that either as a sideline barber without actually looking at the hair, feeling the scalp, examining it, knowing where the dip in the occipital bone is in the back, knowing where the weak spots are, taking his hair, pushing it back, seeing how big his forehead is, so you know how much not to cut off, because you want some of that to hang over. Case in point, I got a knot right here in the top of my head, if you can see, and the back of my head is flat. You guys know when I had an afro, my hair was curly and elongated, and then in the back it was full. I would have to tell people, because I didn't want my hair looking flat in the back, and because I have a round face, I had the elongated hair on the top to try to make my face look thinner, and then in the back I would have more volume so that I would have more of a round shape from the side, as opposed to a flat shape would have given me a flat top. So I said all that to say this. Y'all thought I was going to criticize my dog? Hell no, I ain't going to criticize him. I think he did an excellent job, and he's a more accomplished barber than 99% of the people in this city. So I'm going to give him some love. All right, man, there you go with the cut. It ain't going to matter. Trevor Lawrence got to play. He's got to throw the ball. His hair doesn't. Y'all got to kick it with me here on Locked On Jaguars, man, because that's what we do. We talk about everything on here. Haircuts, fades. Long as they fade them people on the field this year, it doesn't matter to me.